Welcome back to the Breakfast Brief, the show where I make food and talk about the news. Today we are traveling, so it's going to be a little bit different, but I have a story about Rachel Maddow ripping Trump, but also just making some important points on The View. We'll get to that, but first, let's get poppin'. Well, good morning, everybody. I've told you now in a few segments that we finally did it. The adventure of going back on the ground. Many of you found my content through interviews with Trump supporters. It's always a wacky experience. So brought the guys and we went on the ground to Trump's Wisconsin rally in Racine, Wisconsin. And it was maybe one of the most wild experiences I've had. But that means that I can't exactly have the same setup with the kitchen and all that, but I also want this to be part of your routine, so I don't want to just start skipping episodes this early. So this morning I'm going to be making popcorn. That's what we could figure out in this setup so we could keep everything the same for our travel situation. If you're new to the Breakfast Brief, normally I'm in a kitchen and I'm cooking something so advanced as breakfast tacos with just egg and bacon. But we're seeing if I can go further. It's a very exciting journey we're all going on together. So with that being said, let's bring in the microwave and I'll play this clip of Rachel Maddow for you. Super important take on Trump and contextualizing this election in a stunning way as she does so nicely here, and I'll put this in the microwave.
Called Project 2025. Yeah. It's an agenda the far-right conservatives are pushing for, and it has some really concerning attacks on our institutions, like eliminating the Department of Education, replacing government employees with political appointees. Yeah. How realistic do you think these proposals are? Because that part scares me. All of that scares me way more than even Donald Trump.
And it's like 800 pages long.
Yeah. So here's the thing. When Donald Trump won the election in 2016, fair and square, he said it was rigged. Right. He won the Republican primaries. He said they were rigged. He ran for re-election in 2020. Before the election, he said it was rigged. Mm-hmm. Then when he lost the election, he said it was rigged. He does not like elections. He does not like voting as a system by which we decide who's going to be the president. Yeah, right. When he was running for re-election in 2020, the Republican Party decided they were no longer going to have a platform. They abolished their platform and said, our new platform is whatever Donald Trump wants, we're for that.
That's right.
So if you don't stand for anything other than what he wants, you don't vote, you just put him in power. Yeah. And once he's there, nobody is allowed to disagree with him or say anything that he doesn't believe.
And what is that called?
That is what a lot of other countries all around the world have, and it is not democracy.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to get rid of the American system of government, and that means getting rid of a government that does anything other than serve him, and that's what Project 2025 is all about. Yeah. And that exists everywhere in the world, and it has never existed here before. And so I really think the bottom line here is that Trump and his movement, they are not running against Democrats. They're running against democracy. Yeah. They're running against the democratic process. They want to radically change the kind of system that we have, the government that we have. Yeah. And we're alive as American citizens in that time, and we're going to be the ones who decide if the American system of government survives or if it's taken over instead by a strongman authoritarian form.
Yeah, and I know this is probably annoying for you. Two things. One, the noise. Eventually there's going to be a popping noise, and it's going to be the popcorn popping. But just don't get annoyed by that. And then number two is you're going to have to wait a few days before getting the interviews that I did with Trump supporters. But because it's on the top of my head right now, it's what I'm connecting to what we're watching. So one of, or multiple of the people that I talked to really are comfortable saying, oh yeah, dictator Trump above democratically elected Joe Biden. We've seen it before in other interviews, my interviews, whatever. Overt. There is a belief, and I think there are some people who don't feel that way, but for some reason don't think Trump threatens democracy or something, and they'll accuse people of having Trump derangement syndrome for saying what Rachel Maddow said there. But it is funny hearing the first pops and trying to stay focused. But there really is an authentic feeling within MAGA that for whatever reason, maybe democracy doesn't seem so great anymore. Maybe Trump is just that great in their mind. Maybe the left is just that bad, where we should abandon democracy. Some say we were never a democracy, we're a republic, and that's different. And we talked about how that's an absurd distinction to make previously. But whatever it is, Trump is representing and leading a movement that doesn't value democracy more than their ambition for power. And I'm curious to hear if once we're done recording this is sort of a nice ambiance and it's comfortable, sort of like the bacon on our normal episodes, sizzling, or if it's going to be really irritating. We'll just have to find out, and have patience with us. We're doing it all, aren't we? We're here, we're getting the interviews, doing the show, doing the breakfast brief, and it's all coming together. I thank you for your patience. But before getting to this clip of Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman, Rolling Stone reports lawyers, judges, technology. Roger Stone touts plan for Trump win in secret recording. And it goes through how, once again, Windsor, let's see here. Now I'm blanking on the first name, but she's done incredible work. Lauren Windsor, that's it. If there's anything more alarming than Donald Trump and his allies, Rolling Stone reports, plans to wreak havoc on the 2024 election, it's how comfortable they are telling anyone who asks exactly what they plan to do. In an undercover recording obtained by liberal journalist Lauren Windsor, longtime Trump consultant and professional electoral agitator Roger Stone brags that the former president and his cadre are on offensive footing ahead of the election and are better prepared to challenge election results in November than they were in 2020. Here's a quote that's notable. Quote, "At least this time when they do it," referring, I guess, to trying to steal the election, "you have a lawyer and a judge, his home phone standing by so you can stop it," Stone says. "We made no preparations last time, none. There are technical legal steps that we have to take to try and have a more honest election." Now, they of course say honest election. In reality, they mean an election outcome that means Trump wins. And the reason I'm bringing this up to you is it's making big news, but also it connects to what's being talked about here. Instead of figuring out through the democratic process how to ensure Trump wins, in the case of people who want that for some reason, instead the conversation is about how through legal mechanisms, how through certain means can we figure out how to wreak havoc on the election and make sure that Biden doesn't win, even if really with the votes he won. And these challenges are going to be something that are brought immediately in the case of a Trump loss, and it seems like they're more prepared to do so. That won't mean that they identify evidence that doesn't exist, obviously, but instead that they'll give more perceived legitimacy to the cries of rigged election, and they'll be able to pounce and have a lot of more compelling messaging, I guess, for the MAGA base. And that is something that I'm frightened about, all because, and Rachel Maddow said it perfectly, Trump's running against democracy, not Democrats. And then Dan Goldman we'll get to in this clip I'm about to play. You can start bringing in the microwave. I'll try the popcorn after playing this clip. But he gets to a point I've been making a lot. Take a look.
And joining us now is New York Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. You know, when you listen to Steve Bannon say things like November 5th is Judgment Day, January 20th, 2025 is Accountability Day. I mean, you can write this off as that there goes Steve Bannon again. But after January 6th, you can't really do that. What's your reaction when you hear that?
No, remember, Steve Bannon was the one on his podcast the day before January 6th who really rallied the troops, so to speak, to raid the Capitol. And now he's using the same rhetoric. So it's the same as Donald Trump. It's one thing if you do it the first time and you don't necessarily realize what the reaction will be. It's entirely different when you know what the reaction is to your violent rhetoric and you still continue to do it. So let's not make any mistake here. Steve Bannon knows exactly what he's doing. He is riling up a violent base that is the same base that invaded the Capitol, and he is saying victory or death, which means either we win or we kill our opponent. That is the definition of fascism. And it is incredibly scary, Jim, to think that this is what we are facing in this next election. I don't want to talk about policy. We can talk about policy, all day long, but it's irrelevant. What we have is Steve Bannon and Donald Trump trying to destroy the country that we know.
Yeah, and I'll get out the popcorn. Don't worry, I'll probably have other more nutritious food, but this is what we got here. This is just way too bubbly and fun and playful for the subject matter. But before I do that, this is as real as it gets. And the really freaky part is, as I've been saying, the contrast is you have some people who genuinely just don't like democracy that much now. And they think that democracy leads to people they hate so much getting elected, so they might as well give up on the system. Okay. But I don't believe that's most, even people who would vote for Trump, because then that's just too many people for me to believe in America like I do. So I think a lot of it is people who don't get it. And a lot of the conversations we were just having with people, they have no idea about all the stuff Trump has said and done. Just as an example, this is the only thing I've gone through so extensively, the way Trump tried to block peaceful transfer out. It was brought up here, Project 2025 is the means by which Trump will be able to facilitate some of the horrible anti-democratic things that maybe he wanted to do previously but couldn't. But now they'll get rid of anyone who's not a Trump loyalist, even in the deep, deep parts of the bureaucracy that normally is not a partisan position. They'll even uproot that, install loyalists, so Trump can actually do the things that he wants to and won't have pushback. So there's a huge complex web of things that you need to understand to get the full understanding of how Trump threatens democracy. But as one little, just a test for people, a lot of times I do ask, did you know Trump called for the termination of the Constitution? Because that's not subjective, that's just words on a screen that he posted and is still up. And I would say that if we asked everyone at that rally, we didn't, but if we did, it would probably be the majority of people, or like 80-90% would go, oh, no, he didn't post. I've never seen him post that. And then that plays out with any of the other parts, the fake elector scheme, anything else, Project 2025, no understanding. But then you inform them, and it doesn't really change their view a lot of times. But my hope is there's a profound misunderstanding based on echo chambers. And so most people supporting Trump don't know that he might actually destroy the foundation of our system. And people like Bannon are excited about making that happen for more ideological reasons, more sort of, he has an ideology that is driving Bannon to then push for these things. But a lot of people giving Trump the power, supporting Trump, don't know that's the outcome. That's what I'm hoping. Otherwise, we're in a rough situation. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you tomorrow.